group of climate change organizations have
emissions of greenhouse gases.
Climate change is now happening.
Indonesia says it's...
The Philippines tops a list of...
Did you know Earth's temperature has swung wildly, reaching extremes far hotter than today? But as we stand at the precipice of climate change, the shocking truth emerges. Are we on the brink of an environmental whirlpool, heading for a catastrophic climate catastrophe? Let's take it back a mind-blowing 2.5 billion years when Earth experienced a shocking chapter in its climate history, the Snowball Earth period. Picture this. The entire planet was blanketed in ice from pole to pole, even at the equator. Life endured during this icy apocalypse. So how did life hang on in such a deep freeze? Well, it's all about teamwork between two unlikely climate heroes, methane and cyanobacteria. Back then, Earth's atmosphere had little oxygen, but plenty of methane, a potent greenhouse gas that can trap heat and keep temperatures up. This methane abundance was crucial because despite being a lot fainter, the sun still needed some help to prevent Earth from becoming an ice-covered ball. Now, enter the cyanobacteria, tiny but mighty microorganisms. This was a period around 10 million years after the dinosaurs called it quits and things got seriously toasty. We're talking about a rapid warming event where average temperatures soared by as much as 5 to 8 degrees Celsius. Picture Earth's thermostat cranked way up, reaching temperatures as high as 22.8 degrees Celsius or a balmy 73 degrees Fahrenheit. What in the world caused this sudden temperature spike? Well, about 90% of it was due to a massive release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This wasn't your typical carbon dioxide, though. It came from a superactive bout of volcanism in the North Atlantic, kinda like a prehistoric eruption near modern-day Iceland. This released tons of carbon dioxide in a relatively short span, around 10,000 years. Imagine this. Earth goes through these wild swings in temperatures, kind of like a sawtooth pattern. It's like nature's own version of a climate yo-yo, where we enter ice ages and then the ice retreats, bringing on warmer times. Now, what's causing this wild ride? One big factor is carbon dioxide, which plays a starring role in this drama. If you take a look at the temperature and CO2 levels side by side, you'll notice a striking relationship. When CO2 goes up, the temperature follows suit. And when CO2 drops, so does the temperature. It's like they're dancing partners and they've got their steps down pat. But here's the curious part. About 10,000 years ago, things took an unexpected turn, which bring us to agriculture and land use. They've played a pretty big role. You see, as we started farming and clearing land for our needs, we inadvertently released more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. When we chopped down forests or converted natural habitats into farmlands or cities, we disrupted the balance. Trees and plants are like nature's carbon sponges, soaking up CO2. But when we replace them with concrete and crops, it's like removing the sponge. So this change in land use has contributed to the rise in CO2 levels, which, as we know, is a major player in driving climate change. But here's the kicker, our population explosion. Just a few centuries ago, there were only a few million of us roaming the Earth. Fast forward to today, and we've ballooned to over 8 billion people. That's like a population party on a global scale. All those extra people need food, energy, and resources. And that often means more burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. And what does burning fossil fuels do? You guessed it, it releases even more CO2 into the atmosphere, cranking up the heat. You see, fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas are like Earth's buried treasures. They formed from the remains of ancient plants and creatures that lived millions of years ago. Over time, heat and pressure turned these organic materials into the energy-rich resources we know today. It's like Mother Earth stashed away all this carbon goodness for us to discover. Now, here's the hitch. We're burning through these fossil fuels at an alarming rate. When we consider the long and leisurely timeline of geological history, our current situation can be likened to being on a fast-paced carbon-burning roller coaster. Imagine this. In just a mere few centuries, we are unleashing an astonishing quantity of carbon that nature painstakingly collected over millions of years. It's though we've decided to fling open the floodgates, letting an overwhelming surge of CO2 flow into the atmosphere. This sudden release of carbon is the chief factor driving the unprecedented rise in global temperatures that we are witnessing today. To put it in simpler terms, it's almost like cranking up the thermostat in a room. But in this scenario, the room is none other than our entire planet, and the repercussions are felt worldwide. It's a conversation about how human activities are significantly altering the Earth's climate on a scale and pace that's quite astonishing when compared to the gradual changes seen over geological eons. We've got to acknowledge that human-caused climate change is the real deal, and that's not just my opinion, it's pretty much settled science. The vast majority of scientists from around the globe are in agreement that we're playing a major role in driving up the warming of our planet.
Humans are responsible for virtually all global heating over the last 200 years. The rate of temperature rise in the last half century is the highest in 2,000 years.
It's not a fringe theory, it's a scientific consensus backed up by tons of research and data. But hey, I get it. There are still some skeptics out there, and that's okay. It's healthy to question things. Some people might say, well, the climate has always changed, so why should we be concerned now? And they're not wrong. Climate change is a natural part of Earth's history. The good news is that there's a real possibility of slowing down and eventually halting this human-caused warming of our planet. Remember, we're the ones who cranked up the thermostat, which means we can also dial it back down. It's not some sci-fi scenario, it's a problem we can solve with the right actions. But here's the kicker. We can't just sit around twiddling our thumbs and hope things magically get better. We need to act, and we need to act now. The consequences of inaction are pretty dire, from massive sea level rise and extreme weather events to displacement of millions of people. Time is of the essence, and every passing moment holds significance. You see, the reality is that a certain degree of climate change is already in the cards. We're experiencing the consequences: rising sea levels, heat waves becoming more frequent, and extreme weather events becoming the new norm. It's not just about putting the brakes on global warming, it's also about learning to dance through the changing rhythms of our environment. So let me break it down for you. We must embrace a flexible mindset, and we must do it on a global scale. Our world was built upon the assumption of a stable climate, but as that climate undergoes shifts, we've got to be prepared to adjust our steps accordingly. It's like changing our dance moves when the music changes. In this case, the music is the climate, and we need to be nimble on our feet to keep up.